welcome to my Monday message. For the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about communication, and not just any communication, high stakes communication. We're going to start with one of the most valuable and yet most underused tools in the leader or manager's toolbox, and that is feedback. Why is it that we don't always give feedback when feedback would be helpful? Why don't we give it in a timely way? Why don't we ever give it in a way that's truly candid and explicit so that the other person can act on it in a helpful way? Why don't we ever receive feedback like that? Well, maybe we do, but not as often as perhaps might be useful. And it's simply because there are high emotional stakes to feedback, and particularly to doing it well. Let's imagine our 2x2 grid to illustrate this point. The vertical axis is compassion and the horizontal axis is candor. So anything that's in the bottom left-hand corner is simply lies. Now you might think, well, nobody's going to just go into any kind of environment and just simply lie in a brutal and unpleasant way. And yet, if you think about it, you can think of examples in your own life where you've encountered people who do precisely that, people who seem to thrive on drama. On the bottom right-hand corner, you've got people who are very candid, but they lack compassion. And this is brutality. This is where somebody will not spare your feelings and will just tell you exactly how it is. And they'll justify what they're doing because they're being so very honest. However, they're doing it in a way that will strip you bare of your self-esteem, and it'll be really unpleasant. Then in the top right-hand box, we've got the place where we really need to land. This is ideal feedback, and this is kindness. This is where you say what you mean what you say, but you are never mean when you say it. And that's really the ideal. So why don't we do that? Well, very often we find ourselves instead drifting into the top left-hand box, which is niceness. And if you've read Brené Brown's most recent books, Strong Ground and Atlas of the Heart, you may have come across a Buddhist principle. And the Buddhist principle is that of the near enemy, something that at first glance looks a lot like the thing that we desire, but actually on closer inspection turns out to be something which is the exact opposite of it. And niceness is the near enemy of kindness. It's where we end up drifting to if we're going to pull our punches, because we're not quite sure how to be as candid as we need to be, which means we end up being superficial. And we end up being pleasant and having high compassion, but lacking in the candor that would actually make our feedback helpful. So the trick here is to practice giving feedback and making the feedback about the thing or the event, not about the person. Doing it in a way that holds space for the other person and really has proper respect for their dignity. Hope that's a helpful idea. Thank you as always for helping me to build this channel by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next week.